Today I'm going to show you this new welcome drink that I'm serving at the start of my tasting menu, with fresh green spring flavours of spruce, elderflower and dandelion. The idea is to have something really bright and fresh to give the guests as they're settling in, so it should be palate cleansing and refreshing, and also act as a little bit of an icebreaker, as well as introducing some of the wild ingredients that I'm going to use throughout the dinner. So I came up with this, a sparkling soft drink that has the citrus and pine flavours of spruce, the beautiful aromatics of fresh elderflower, and then it's finished with this dandelion petal infusion on top. All the elements that make this drink up are relatively simple to prepare, so I'm going to take you through how I make those, and then how they are mixed, carbonated, and finally served. So first off, even though spruce is the most prominent flavour, I'm actually going to start with the elderflower element, which is an acidic grape juice, verjus, which is infused with fresh elderflower. For this soft drink, I wanted something lemonade inspired, but with these beautiful, fresh, complex, wild flavours. And so most of the acidity and freshness in this drink is going to come from this elderflower infused verjus, rather than citrus. Verjus is an acidic fresh grape juice that's made using unripe vineyard grapes. I get this from a UK supplier from vineyards down in Sussex, which is quite a long way south of where I am, but you'll be surprised to hear we don't have a ton of vineyards around Manchester. We've tended to be better at producing music rather than wine here. So one of the things that I do every year is make this verjus infused with elderflower. It's really simple. It's just a case of picking fresh elderflower when it's in season and then pouring over the verjus and allowing it to cold infuse for between 24 and 48 hours. I've shown that in a nice little bowl here, which looks pretty for the video, but in practicality what I end up doing is several of these larger 4-litre tubs. Once the elderflower verjus is infused, you simply strain it and it really captures well the freshness and the strong aromatics of elderflower on the tree. Even if you don't make this full drink, the elderflower verjus is a great thing to make. Because it's got this really nice freshness and acidity, it lends itself really well to working in both savoury and sweet applications. It's just as applicable for using in dressings or finishing a sauce as it is for putting into things like sorbets or drinks. So it's a very versatile store cupboard ingredient and a way of taking these spring flavours and being able to use them throughout the rest of the year. Next up we have our Spruce Infusion. I've shown the process of foraging for spruce tips on the channel before because I use them in a dessert. They appear for this short window each year in the spring and have this beautiful citrusy flavour that's like fresh green apple mixed with pine. It's got to be one of my favourite ingredients to work with, and it's very simple to make this sweet infusion from them. I just take these fresh spruce tips and blend them with water and sugar. That mixture also sits and cold infuses overnight before we strain it, and we have this vibrant, fresh green spruce infusion. And then the last infusion that we're going to make for this drink is a syrup that's infused with Osmanthus flowers. This is another flavour and ingredient that I return to a lot for its beautiful stone fruit aromatics. I've rarely used this as a flavour that's right up front at the forefront of a dish, but it can just add this little bit of magic in the background. So it's another very simple infusion. I take these dried Osmanthus flowers and then add sugar and water. Then I do add a little bit of lemon zest too to this, just to boost that citrusy flavour. And again, this cold infuses overnight so that we extract the flavours but without pulling any bitterness out of the ingredients, and then the next day it simply gets strained. Now, to put the drink together is really simple because it's just a case of combining these different infusions and diluting them to the right amount. And then I'll show you the dandelion petal carbonated foam that I use to finish the drink in a moment. I'll put the full recipe for all of these things and the finished drink down in the video description. To make a bottle of our drink, I'll combine 140 grams of the spruce infusion, 60 grams of that elderflower verjus, 80 grams of the Osmanthus flower syrup, 20 grams of lemon juice just to freshen it up a touch, and 520 grams of water to dilute it to the correct amount so it's not overly sweet or too sharp. Now at this point the drink is ready to be carbonated, and it hasn't been clarified at this stage. I did try it both ways, both clarifying this in the centrifuge, which does allow you to carbonate it a little more fully and prevents it from foaming as much when it's poured. But I found overall, I think I preferred it unclarified. I think the flavour comes through a little bit better, and with this and the flavours I'm working with, I would rather have it be as punchy and fresh as possible rather than focusing too much on the carbonation. When I carbonate drinks, I do that with a CO2 tank and do it in bottles with carbonation caps. You can see me doing that here with a tonic that I used to make, and it's the same method for this drink as well. It's a case of chilling it down, carbonating it in the bottle, and then allowing it to chill again for a couple of hours before serving. But again, if you don't have a carbonation setup like this, you could use a cream whipper and charge it with CO2 or a small home soda maker. So now we have our carbonated drink ready. The final stage is this dandelion petal foam to go on top. This is just a dandelion petal cordial, which again, I make each spring. I have a full video about making this, but just in brief, I collect dandelions and then pick out their petals, which is quite laborious, but this is really, really delicious and definitely worth it. Then I combine water, sugar, citric acid, and lemon zest to make a syrup. And then you just let the dandelion petals cold infuse into that syrup for 48 hours before straining them for your finished dandelion cordial. I wanted to make a foam with this dandelion cordial, so it sort of sits like a head on top of the drink, which allows you to add these beautiful dandelion flavours, but also still keep a little bit of separation between those and the flavours of the spruce and the elderflower in the drink itself. So to make that foam, I add the tiniest bit of this ingredient Easy Whip, which I designed as a way of making different foams and mousses without using things like egg white. You only need the tiniest bit because we really don't want to change the texture of the cordial, just give it enough body that it can sort of hold as a very light foam on top of the drink. And then that dandelion cordial goes into a cream whipper where I'm going to charge it with both CO2 and nitrous so that the foam is lightly carbonated, but you also get this nice sort of smoother texture from the nitrous oxide. It's a little bit hard to describe, but I definitely found that this is the combination of texture and flavour that I liked best for this. Now to serve the drink, I have these beautiful little ceramic cocktail cups made for me by Rebecca Morris, who I work with a lot on different pieces of serviceware for the menu. I want these to be chilled for the drink, of course, so here I've done that by nitrogen chilling them, which is a technique that Dave Arnold uses to great effect, and something I wanted to do for the video because it gives us this nice little extra visual element. But if you do something like that, you have to be really, really careful that you don't ever serve someone a drink that could still contain any liquid nitrogen, because that's incredibly dangerous. So actually in practice, I found that the best thing for me to do is to pre-chill these cups with the ice cubes inside just in the freezer, and then they're ready for me just to grab when I need them. Once the drink is poured, I'm going to top it with that carbonated dandelion foam. And there is something really nice about the way this just sits on top, and so the flavours complement each other, but they're also kept slightly separate and distinct, and so each sip of the drink is just a little different. And so that's it. That's the Spruceade that I'm giving to guests as just a little welcome drink. It's not even really part of the menu, but just something nice to kind of set the tone at the very beginning of the evening. If you've found this interesting, I have some other videos on the channel about working with wild foods, and although I'm primarily a chef, I've done a couple of different videos about things to do with drinks as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.